in Atlanta, Fox Saturday Baseball presents an early season National League Eastern Division matchup between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. And welcome inside the broadcast booth, Matt Vasgersian. Braves, Phillies, really the class of the NL East for some time. Since division realignment in 1994, these two teams have combined to claim 15 of the 16 Eastern Division crowns. And as I welcome Eric Karros onto the telecast, Eric, one Brave who's been here for that entire run, the six-time All-Star Chipper Jones.
Well, and remember, last year there was retirement talk, and then he blew out his knee in August. But he had a great spring. In the first week of the season, he's been dynamite. Last night, 2 for 4, 3 RBI. When you talk about the great switch hitters to ever play the game, Eddie Murray, Mickey Mantle, you got to put Chipper Jones right there. Chipper
Jones and the Braves able to take game 1 of the series yesterday. They beat Cliff Lee, another ace on the mound for the Phillies this afternoon. They've got to deal with Roy Oswalt.
And remember, when he first came over to the Phillies, his first start against the Washington Nationals, not good. But since then, 12 regular season starts, he's 8-0, an ERA under 2. But remember this, there's one team that he has not beaten in the National League in the regular season. That's these Atlanta Braves.
Philadelphia Phillies aces have expectations through the roof in the city of brotherly love this season. But there's fresh energy in Braves country in 2011. Notable newcomers have joined some established stars in NL Eastern Division showdown in Hotlanta. Next on Fox. And a second of 18 this season between these two NL Eastern Division rivals. Let's take a look at the Phillies Taco Bell lineup. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Switch hitters Victorino and Rollins 1 and 3. Howard Francisco 4 and 5. They've been terrific to start the year. The veteran Raul Ibanez in the 6th spot. Brian Schneider gets a spot start behind the plate. Wilson Valdez filling in admirably for Chase Utley, and Roy Oswalt rounded out for Charlie Manuel. Opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Well, on the mound to make just his 5th career starting assignment, the 24-year-old rookie right-hander Brandon Beachy. Shane Victorino in to start us out this afternoon, and we are underway at Turner Field. Well, Brandon Beachy, Eric, with just a handful of career starting assignments. The good news for Beachy is that half of them now will have been against this Philadelphia uniform, pitched against them twice last year. Did not get a win on either occasion, but threw the ball very well against the bullies of the division.
Yeah, one of the things that makes Brandon Beachy effective, he can hit his spots, and he does that with 3 different pitches. No jams. He's good at getting out of jams, but this is a veteran Philadelphia ball club, and you can do it once or twice, but if you're pitching out of them all game long, you're going to get burned.
Shane Victorino off to an 8 for 27 start in 2011. As Beachy works 2-1 to him, and that's rattled into the right field corner. Extra bases for Shane Victorino to set the table this afternoon.
Just a pitch on the inner half of the plate. Shane Victorino gets his hands inside the ball. Now, Beachy doesn't want to leave it that much on the inner part of the plate. If you're going inside to either a right-hander or a left-hander, you want to come in off of the plate. Throw it for a ball, make the hitter go after a bad pitch.
So an opportunity now for Placido Polanco to bat with a runner in scoring position. These are situations in which the veteran infielder has thrived throughout his career. Victorino at second as Beachy looks for his first out of the afternoon. Well, the Phillies, Eric, off to a 5-2 start. They began the season in convincing fashion and swept the Houston Astros in their first series of the year at home in convincing fashion, one that included a walk-off victory on opening day. And you'd think for a team like the Phillies that have been around so long, things like that have happened often in the past. There's a foul pop for the rookie Freddie Freeman and one gone. More on the Phillies start in a moment. First, a look at the Braves defensive alignment brought to you by Scott's. Jones, Gonzalez, Ugla, and the youngster Freeman in the infield. In the outfield, it's Prado, McLeod, and Hayward, your starting battery, Beachy and McCann. This was a troubled defensive team in 2010. You saw the error total, one of the highest in baseball.
Well, a better defensive infield this year, especially with the addition of Freddie Freeman over at first base. As good a hands as there are in the game.
So one out, a runner still in scoring position now for Jimmy Rollins, off to a 9 for 28 start this year. But more on that Phillies opening series sweep. It's the first time they had opened the season with a 3-game sweep at home since 1899. And of all the things this team has accomplished of late, we're still talking about going back that far into the franchise annals for resetting high marks.
Yeah, and you know, really a lot of the focus on the pitching, and deservedly so, but the offense has really been what's carried them this first 8-9 games of the season.
And Rollins puts it in play to the right side of the infield, executed nicely between the two kids, Freeman and Beachy. Victorino to third on the second out of the ball game.
You know, this is just a very basic play here, the ground ball, the first Freddie Freeman. But what you want to look at, watch how quickly he gets rid of the ball. Freddie Freeman's got it. He gets it to the pitcher. He's still on the grass. A lot of guys wait for the pitcher to get to first base. Very difficult for the pitcher to catch the ball and try and tag the base at the same time. It's an excellent job by the young first baseman getting the pitcher the ball.
Well, a big early spot for Beachy and the Braves, and they will opt to make it a non-spot by intentionally passing Ryan Howard. And when you talk about how well the Phillies have started offensively, Eric, the discussion begins with their first baseman and cleanup hitter.
Well, he's the one guy on this ball club, and one of really a handful of guys in the major leagues that can carry a ball club. Now, there are guys that have good weeks, good months, but he can literally put a team on his shoulders and just go. Well, he usually does that at the end of the year, but he started out in April, and especially now with the Phillies having a couple guys on the disabled list and the absence, obviously, Jason Worth going to Washington. They really needed him, and he's answered the bell.
So runners at the corners now for Raul Ibanez. A quick note on the series history between these two franchises. And again, they are well versed in head-to-head play. Last season, the Phils took 10 of 18. They really beat up on the Braves down the stretch to ice their spot as a postseason contender. And then, of course, the Braves enter the postseason last year as the wild card team. Ball and no strikes to Ben Francisco, who, like Ryan Howard in front of him, is off to a very good start at the plate. And a strike to make it 1-1.
Well, he's finally getting an opportunity to play every day in Philadelphia. He had an opportunity in Cleveland, but when he was traded over, he became that fourth outfielder. So Brandon Beachy trying to pitch out of that jam.
And a sharply hit ground ball, a base hit into left. The Phillies take an early 1-0 lead, 2 outs into the afternoon.
Now, see, this is what we talked about, Matt, at the top of the show. You know, Brandon Beachy gets into jams, and he's been able to get out of them. But this is a Philadelphia ball club that offensively, they're a mature club. They know what they're doing. Situationally, they know how to approach each at-bat. Didn't get out of this jam, and he's still in it.
Here now is the left-handed hitting Raul Ibanez, off to a 7-for-27 start this year. You know, so there you have a great example, Eric, of a game plan strategy that the Braves employ. They intentionally walk Ryan Howard, and they choose the much more untested Ben Francisco to try to beat him, and Francisco cashes in. Because not only is Jason Worth not here anymore, but Dominic Brown, who was supposed to start out there in his place, is injured with a wrist problem. So your number 3 guy on the depth chart is the guy that ends up beating you. A ball and a strike to count to Ibanez.
You know, I'm not so sure, though, that Francisco, with the way he played in the spring, wouldn't have won the job from Dominic Brown anyhow. And what he's done these, first 8-9 games, he's going to make it very difficult for this Philadelphia brass to say Dominic Brown has the job. Ben Francisco, for me, he's won it and he's earned it.
Fans make a little noise in support of Brandon Beachy, trying to mitigate the damage at just a run. And a swing and a miss. Not before the Phillies strike first after 3 outs in Atlanta. The Phillies won. The Braves coming to bat. This afternoon, and here's how the Braves line up. Atlanta's starting lineup presented by Taco Bell. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Martin Prado, Nate McLeod, and Chipper Jones get it going. Between Jones, McCann, and Ugla, the 3-4-5 batters, that's 13 combined all-star appearances. A pair of 21-year-old young left-handed hitters, Hayward and Freeman, 6 and 8. Brandon Beachy, the pitcher, bats number 9. It is Roy Oswalt on the mound, 13-13 a year ago. He got his 2011 off to a good start by beating his old employer on Sunday.
Well, and for Roy Oswalt, he's got to pretend it's going to be the postseason. I say that he's beaten the Braves. He's 2-0 in the postseason, but has yet to beat them in the regular season. Then he's got to go after Nate McLeod for two reasons. Nate's had some good success against him, 2 home runs at a .333 clip, but he's also at the top of the order, which sets up that tough middle of the lineup.
Martin Prado digs in for Atlanta, and Oswalt's afternoon is underway with strike one. Well, Martin Prado helped lead the way yesterday in the Braves upending Cliff Lee in the first game of the series. Prado with a 3-hit opener. And it's a ball and a strike from the number 3 starter, Roy Oswalt, who, as Eric mentioned before the telecast, has never beaten the Braves during the regular season.
Well, remember last year in September, he did have a great start against the Braves in the regular season, but didn't get a decision. Phillies ended up winning that game 1-0. I'll tell you, in the postseason, just shuts them down.
Now, Atlanta now the only National League team that Roy Oswalt has not beaten in his 10-year career, as he pitched against and defeated the Astros for the first time ever on Sunday. This foul pop slicing out of play. I don't know that we've referred to Roy Oswalt, Eric, as a number 3 starter in the last 8 or 9 years, but in fact that's the chair he occupies in Philly.
Well, and as many would say, if he was on another ball club, he's easily the number 1, but that's the depth of this Philadelphia Phillies staff.
Prado on one hop to Howard, who knocks it down and takes care of business himself for the first out. Phillies defense brought to you by Scott's Placido Polanco, a 2-time Gold Glover. Jimmy Rollins has 3. Shane Victorino in the outfield with the pair. Schneider and Oswalt working as Phillies starting battery this afternoon. Phillies a very good defensive team last year, in stark contrast to the Braves. So one gone, base is empty now for the left-handed hitting center fielder Nate McLeod, who rolls over the first pitch and once again keeping Ryan Howard busy early on this afternoon. So 2 gone, base is empty for the 17-year veteran and a man who celebrated yet another milestone in this series opener last night, taking it back not even 24 hours. Career hit number 2,500 for Chipper Jones.
Had quite a remarkable career. The consistency. Played a great third base as well.
He has been the brand here in Atlanta for the better part of 2 decades. And the first pitch to him from Oswalt is in for a strike. The only guy ahead of him on that games, hits, and runs batted in list, Hall of Famer Hank Aaron. Only Aaron and Eddie Matthews lie in front of him on the franchise home run chart. A ball and a strike to Chipper Jones, who has faced Roy Oswalt in the past, of course. Couple of veterans. Jones just 4 for 15 against Oswalt. Scoreless bottom of the first in Atlanta. And a tapper back to the mound. And so Roy Oswalt will keep the 1-0 Phillies lead after an inning. Is sponsored by Taco Bell, think outside the bun, and by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Folks around here in Atlanta celebrating an anniversary yesterday of Henry Aaron's 715th home run, passing Babe Ruth. The legendary Milo Hamilton call. Swinging, there's the long drive, out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing the game with Matt Vasgersian.
Yeah, that's my Milo. That's hackneyed at best. Milo's been doing this for a long time. Here's Brian Schneider to lead things off as the Phillies second. Schneider, Valdez, and Oswalt against Brandon Beachy. A veteran of these parts, certainly this division. Brian Schneider has spent a great portion of his career in the National League East. And there aren't too many active catchers with more innings of work on their resume than Brian Schneider. Behind now 1-2.
Just a solid backstop. Swing the bat a little bit. He's been a starter, and now he's accepted his role as a backup here in Philadelphia. Done a wonderful job as well.
Giving Carlos Ruiz a much deserved blow on this Saturday afternoon after the night game. Schneider with a swing and a high fly ball for Jason Hayward. One gone in the second. Eric, time to look at today's 4 keys to the game.
Well, I'm telling you, I picked these out prior to the game starting, and I say that the patient on the offense, the Phillies, they were patient in the first inning. Got up there 2 outs, the Ryan Howard walk, and then Ben Francisco the base hit. The Braves offensively, for them to really get going, the top 2 in the lineup have to get on base. When they win games, Prado and McLeod are having big games. When they're not winning and not scoring, guys are non-existent.
1 out, base is empty now for Wilson Valdez, off to a very good start, keeping that chair warm for Chase Utley. 9 for 24 to begin the campaign. You know, they take their good news on the injury front with a grain of salt around in Philly these days, because there are so many notable bodies on the shelf. But Charlie Manuel seemed encouraged today when we asked him about Chase Utley's status.
Well, encouraged as compared to what things had been like for Chase Utley. He said he's moving around a little bit, but then when we asked, is he running? Oh, no, he's not running. So it's not as he's progressing, but it's at a slow rate. And look, when Chase Utley can get back, he'll be back, because this is a guy that wants to be out on the field, will do everything he can. We know the injury history and what he's gone through to get back on the field. The reality is he's not on the field, and Charlie Manuel has to manage this team as if Chase Utley isn't going to be there.
Valdez slices one to Ugla, who smothers it and gets him. A fine play on a ball that had a lot of English on it.
We mentioned a lot of spin. Ugly almost tackles the ball and comes up cleanly with it. You see Valdez heading down to first. Now watch Ugly. He's got it, and it's right in the glove. Makes the quick transfer. Valdez, look at, he's on the outer part of the baseline because he thinks that ball is through. He's going to round the bag. Little surprised when he sees Ugly come up with it.
2 gone, base is empty now for Roy Oswalt. Yeah, Dan Ugla saying, get off me with my defense, huh? I can play. I got a glove in my bag, too. It's a guy who's been known as, more hit than catch in his career.
Well, he hasn't got on track yet with the bat, so got to give Freddie a reason to keep him out there right now. It's a heck of a play.
Second highest error total at second base since 2006. And it's a ball and 2 strikes on Roy Oswalt now. Part of the revamped Braves look for 2011. The team was offensively challenged down the stretch, and they think that Ugla is going to go a long way to help address that.
Well, I think what Ugla does is he really fortifies that middle of the lineup, adds some depth to it. So when you do give Brian McCann a day off, or Chipper Jones a day off, you have that guy that can hit third or fourth, where in the past, or specifically last year, you really didn't have that.
Oswalt with a swing and a fly ball, can of corn style for Nate McLouth as Brandon Beachy gets the bottom of the Phillies order 1-2-3. Presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Hey folks, it's not too late to play fantasy baseball at foxsports.com/fantasy. As always, Fox Fantasy Baseball is 100% free. Expert advice, draft kits, free live scoring, and much more. Play today at foxsports.com/fantasy. And if it's not too late, just go ahead and pick yourself up some Craig Kimbrell. He's unbelievable.
He is. What an arm at the end of that bullpen. Wow.
Not sure if we'll have a chance to see him throw today, but that's one of the reasons the Braves are so excited for this 2011 season. Here's Brian McCann to lead things off in the home second. Middle of the order, McCann, Ugla, and Hayward against Roy Oswalt. 1-1 now to the five-time All-Star, and by the way, 2010 All-Star Game MVP. And McCann, like a couple of his mates in the middle of this order, off to a strong start this season. 13 for 30. 2 balls and a strike to him. The second of 18 meetings head-to-head between the two teams that many of the experts, Eric, feel will be the ones there at the end of September vying for division honors.
Well, and you can make a pretty good argument these two teams could meet in the National League Championship Series. And they both have the pitching. They've got solid ball clubs. Offensively, I think the Phillies are better.
McCann sends a drive to the opposite field. Well struck. Victorino on the move. And at the track runs it down.
Brian McCann gets a fastball out over the plate. He drives it to left center. That's Shane Victorino out there. He gets a nice jump, and he can run down a ball as well as any center fielder in either league. Great speed. Tracks a ball very well. So he catches it with ease. Got the mouthpiece in out there too. See that?
Going full contact. There's Dan Ugla now with one gone. Well, Ugla off to just a 6 for 31 start, as Eric mentioned earlier. Hasn't quite gotten it cranked up yet. 2 of his first 3 hits as a Brave were home runs. But it's been a little slow going since that point. Braves ran into a couple of tough starters in Milwaukee before coming home to start this homestand last night. I don't think Freddie Gonzalez is worried.
No reason to be worried with the track record of this guy. Offensively, you know he's going to put 30 home runs on the board. Provide you that power.
And a big swing and a miss. Oswalt gets him on 3 pitches for his first strikeout of the afternoon. So now local hero Jason Hayward, who has made it a point in his still young, brief major league career to open with a bang. A ball and no strikes to Hayward, who was 1 for 3 in the opener of this series yesterday. He's the second player in major league history to go deep in his first at bat of his first 2 seasons. He and Kazuo Matsui, former Astro and Rocky and Met. Alex Gonzalez on deck should Hayward have success. Braves still looking for their first base runner of the afternoon. 1-1.
One of the things that impresses me about Hayward as a hitter is his patience at the plate. He leads this Atlanta team in walks with 8. Doesn't offer it pitches that are off of the plate. Works the pitcher, makes him throw strikes. Even when he gets out, he has productive at-bats.
You know, it's curious to hear someone criticized to that degree, but there were those that last year felt like Hayward may have been a bit too patient at times. And there was a camp that wanted him to be a little more aggressive.
Yeah, and then that's the same camp that'll tell you, oh, he's swinging too much. I mean, John Olerud was a guy that played first base, a great hitter, a batting title winner, but very patient hitter. And sometimes would take pitches that were an inch or 2 off the plate, even with runners in scoring position. But he wasn't going to change his approach. And the bottom line is he was a very productive big league player. So you want Hayward to start swinging at things and being more aggressive. Pretty soon he takes away something that he's very good at. Again, you look at this at bat right now, you see hitting coach Larry Parrish right there, new with the Braves. But Hayward as a youngster is very disciplined, and it's easier to be disciplined and then become more aggressive rather than to come up as a young player and just be a wild swinger and then at the big league level have to learn to be disciplined. It just doesn't work that way.
And a knuckler on its way to second for Wilson Valdez, and Roy Oswalt is perfect through 2. We'll return to Atlanta after a word from your local station. Welcome back to Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Alongside Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian, top half of the third and the top of the order for the Phillies, Victorino, Polanco, and Rollins here against Brandon Beachy. Phillies scored in the first. A 2-out RBI single by Ben Francisco gave Roy Oswalt the lead that he works with currently. Victorino scored that run after doubling to open the ball game. You know, they talk about, Eric, how there's a guy on every staff that doesn't get the runs. And you'd hate to say that for Brandon Beachy at 24 years old with a handful of starts under his belt that he's that guy. Yet the fact remains that in his 4 big league starts, the Braves have scored a total of 4 runs for him while he's been in the game, as Victorino makes it a 2-for-2 start to the day.
Well, you're right, especially as a young player trying to establish yourself as Beachy is, going out, doing the job, keeping his ball club in games. You know, I think the wins and losses, while it matters individually, I think the brass in Atlanta just wants to see him pitch well, and that's what he's done. He hasn't got the run support, but he has pitched well.
Here's Placido Polanco now. Well, the Phillies, as they have in the past, running to start 2011, despite a shift on in terms of the base coaches. You know, Davey Lopes got a lot of credit for the running game the past couple of years, as he should have. But just because there's a new first base coach, it's not that Sam Palazzo doesn't like to run either. And there goes Victorino. He's going to have to retreat as Polanco lines sharply to left. Hey, tonight NASCAR on Fox Motors into Texas, where Denny Hamlin will try to defend his title and take home his 3rd straight checkered flag at the Texas Motor Speedway. Coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing tonight, live in primetime, with the pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, in high definition right here on Fox. One out, one on for Jimmy Rollins now. Rollins grounded to the right side in his first try this afternoon. It's that murderer's row part of the lineup with Rollins and Howard. A couple of former National League MVPs. There was a lot of discussion, Eric, before the season about who would bat third in the absence of Chase Utley.
Well, and Rollins has handled the job well. But what's interesting is no home runs yet, no RBI from Rollins in the 3rd spot. But what he's done is he's been able to get on base. He's continued innings. He's continued rallies. He's running again. You know, I mean, more indicative that those numbers are of a leadoff hitter, but he's been able to set the table for Ryan Howard and Ben Francisco.
On the ground to shortstop. Gonzalez gets it to Ugla with the bare hand. Boy, fine picks all the way around. A good play to start it, a good play to turn it, and a great finish by the rookie Freddie Freeman. Phillies on top of the Braves early in Atlanta. 1-0 Philadelphia. Alex Gonzalez, Freddie Freeman, and Brandon Beachy. Bottom of Freddie Gonzalez lineup here in the home third. Alex Gonzalez off to a 6 for 29 start. Had a base hit in yesterday's win. Little tardy there to fall behind 0-2. Roy Oswalt 3 up, 3 down in both the first and second innings. Picking up right where he left off on Sunday when he beat his old mates, the Houston Astros. Into the opposite corner, in trouble. And the Braves had their first base runner of the afternoon.
Well, this is just a fastball up out over the plate. You don't want to throw that ball up in the zone. Hitters can reach that. You want to keep it low. You see Ben Francisco hustling over it in the corner. Remember, though, Alex Gonzalez has had a lot of success against Roy Oswalt, hitting at a 400 clip, a couple of home runs. He sees the ball well against him.
Here's the 21-year-old rookie Freddie Freeman now. Well, the Braves continuing their youth movement commitment, I suppose, one that began a couple of years ago with some of the young pitching that they introduced to the big league level. Tommy Hanson last year, a guy like Jason Hayward comes along and makes a good run at Rookie of the Year honors, and Freddie Freeman is that candidate in 2011. A strike to put him behind 0-2.
Very good fielder, excellent hitter. Going to take some time to adjust to the big league level. Got to get the nerves calmed down a little bit. Initially, when you first come up to the big leagues, you want to prove right away that you belong.
He was able to come up and get a taste last year. A ball and 2 strikes to him now. By the way, as a note, Alex Gonzalez, after that 2-base hit, and I'm not sure he watched the baseball go back into the dugout or even if he was aware of this, but that was double number 300 for his career. Is that a little too esoteric for a guy to want the baseball?
I don't think he cares about 300 doubles. I bet you he didn't even know. If he did know, that's a lot of free time.
It's a nice round number nonetheless, right? Got to play a long
round
time.
Number. It's a round number.
Freddie Freeman hits the hole on the left side nicely. They're going to try it with Gonzalez. No play at the plate, and the Braves have tied it up at 1 apiece.
Oswalt here trying to run a fastball in on the hands, and you can see the ball just drifts out over the plate. Freeman shoots that hole on the left side. Gonzalez easily scores. As is the case most of the time, when hitters get hits, it's because the pitcher misses his spots. The hitters usually hit mistakes. See now Beachy trying to do his job, get Freeman down to second base for Prado and McLeod.
Beachy 1 for 7 as a hitter. And as Eric indicates, they're asking him just to move a base runner here with nobody out. The Braves having tied it here in the third.
It's always funny to me because people expect, well, because he's bunting, just get the bunt down. How hard is it to bunt? Remember, you've got a guy out there throwing 90 some odd miles an hour trying to keep you from bunting. It's not like, hey, we're in the batting cage, I'm just going to lay it down.
They sent the runner, and Beachy sacrifices nicely. But Freeman had a good head start, and there's a runner in scoring position now with 1 gone. You know, Roy Oswalt left in his 2011 debut in the bottom of the 6th. His pitch count wasn't where they thought it would be coming out of camp because of this. His final spring tune-up assignment, March 23rd, a comebacker off the bat of Manny Ramirez. Oswalt never lost consciousness. He left the field under his own power. X-rays and a CT scan both came back negative. He was clipped on the side of the ear, but what that did is it prevented him from having a 90-pitch outing in the spring. So in his 2011 debut, they were still keeping a very watchful eye on his pitch count. Certainly not indicating that that's an issue here today, but he wasn't as stretched out as the rest of the staff was coming out of camp. Here's Martin Prado now.
But just getting back to that, the Phillies happy that that was their biggest concern, that he wasn't getting enough pitches, and not that, you know, there was more damage done. Manny hits that ball a little harder, and man, could have been ugly.
Oh, 0-1 the count to Martin Prado. Baseball community was caught off guard, I think, yesterday, Eric, with the Manny Ramirez news that hit the wires, and some suggested that that ball he hit against Roy Oswalt in spring was the last hard hit ball that might have come off his bat in a big league uniform. Martin Prado hits the hole on the other side. Francisco bobbles, and Freeman will score. That will likely go down as a base hit, E9, and Atlanta has taken a 2-1 lead.
Well, the Braves doing a nice job of going the other way. You see, Prado has the pitch on the outer part of the plate. He shoots the right side of the infield, and the middle of the infield was pinched towards second base to hold Freeman close to second. See Freddie Freeman there being held up at third base, but when Ben Francisco in right field bobbles the ball, picks up the feet and scampers home.
Here's Nate McLouth now, still only one out in the inning, a couple of runs on 3 hits and an error so far. And I believe, Eric, you tell me if I'm wrong, all 3 of the Braves base hits this inning have come on fastballs.
Well, and they've gone the other way, too. That's what's also interesting. They're not trying to pull Oswalt. All the hitters have gone the opposite field.
Soft liner to Rollins, and they will double up Prado at first. So with some help behind him, the Phillies minimize the damage at 2. It's 2-1 Atlanta. Presented by Budweiser, is sponsored by the all-new 100% reinvented Ford Explorer. Drive one. And by One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. 2 in the home third has given the Atlanta Braves a 1-run lead as we go to the 4th inning this afternoon in Atlanta. Ryan Howard leads things off against Brandon Beachy. Howard, Francisco, and Ibanez. And Brandon Beachy in that rare spot early in his young major league career where he is pitching with a lead. Ryan Howard was intentionally walked in his first plate appearance this afternoon. Jammed him. Howard pops it into shallow central. McLouth is on fourth, and there's one gone.
When we talk about pitchers going on the inner half of the plate, it's better to not be on any part of the plate when you're going inside. Here, probably an inch or two off of the inside part. Ryan Howard unable to extend. Beachy does his job by jamming him.
One away now for Ben Francisco. You know, I think it's easy when a talent like Brandon Beachy comes along in an organization that has been blessed with such terrific pitching talent over the years. For fans, for media, to hang a comparison on a kid, as this is in the air for Rugglove. And in the case of Brandon Beachy, he has been called a right-handed Tom Glavine, not only because of his demeanor, because of his work ethic, but because he can put the ball just about anywhere he wants on the plate.
Right, and that's something that people want to make comparisons or draw parallels because they're hoping that this will be the next Tom Glavine or this will be the next Greg Maddux. And as you mentioned, really is unfair to the youngster. Brandon Beachy is going to be the next Brandon Beachy. What he does is he's able to control the game. He's out there, he has a plan, he knows what he wants to do. He doesn't have great stuff, but he has unbelievable execution. His ability to put the ball wherever he wants it.
Ball and no strikes to Raul Ibanez. And I think fans love the fact that, at least those of us who like to root for the underdog, I mean, this is a kid that was a non-drafted free agent out of Indiana Wesleyan. You know, he wasn't like one of these blue chip kids out of Texas or UCLA that came with a lot of eyeballs on him. He has earned everything that he has accomplished at this point. And there's ball four to Raul Ibanez. For exclusive information, analysis, and breaking news, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and MySpace. Log on to twitter.com/MLBonFox, Facebook.com/Fox Sports, or MySpace.com/Fox Sports.
Got all those there, Matty?
Oh, yeah. I've got them all bookmarked right here. No need to ever leave the house. Here's Brian Schneider. Schneider flew to right in his first plate appearance this afternoon. Ibanez stays put, and that one has no shot at staying in the ballpark. Brian Schneider's first of the year. He hit that where the big boys live.
Well, that home run really a result of the ineffectiveness to Ibanez. He threw 4 straight balls to Ibanez in the first pitch to Schneider, another ball. He's just trying to get a strike, throw something down the middle. And as a hitter, you know that. And you're looking for something right down the middle of the plate. You know the pitcher's out there struggling. All he's trying to do is throw a strike. If you're disciplined enough as a hitter to zone up and just say, he's going to throw a fastball, I'm looking for one right there, I'm going to let it go. When I mean let it go, swing at it, that's what Schneider did.
Quickly 0-2 on Wilson Valdez. Not only feels good for Brian Schneider, but on a day that Charlie Manuel decides to get him in the lineup and give his regular backstop a blow, you know, I'm sure it feels good for the skipper, who feels like he pushed the right button today.
Well, again, with a guy like Brian Schneider, he is a very effective backup guy.
Valdez chases a swing and a miss. Not before Brian Schneider can do some damage. 6-time All-Star Chipper Jones leads off the last of the fourth to try to get it back for the Braves. Chipper Jones and the Braves open the bottom half of the fourth with a 3-2 disadvantage staring at them on the scoreboard after the Brian Schneider 2-run home run. Roy Oswalt, with the lead back in his pocket, goes to work against Jones with strike one. Jones, McCann, and Ugla here in the home fourth. And Chipper quickly in an 0-2 hole. Jones yet to go deep in 2011. And a guy who, Eric, as you know, has generated most of his damage from this side of the plate after the knee surgery. I would imagine that balance, that power, is one of the things that might come last.
Yeah, he struggled so far coming out of the gate. Hit 235 from the left side.
One away as Chipper is retired to start the fourth. Well, he's creeping up that all-time switch hitters home run list, 436. Eddie Murray at 504 and the Mick at 536. The only two switch hitters in front of him on that chart, having recently passed Chili Davis. Lance Berkman, fifth on the all-time switch hit home run list. Here's Brian McCann now. You know, a lot of people were surprised when the Braves inked Chipper to the contract extension in 2009. He's around at a big piece of salary this season and next season.
I like that. Around at a big piece of salary.
Trying to be diplomatic.
That is nice. Politically correct. The players appreciate that.
I don't like putting numbers out. I think it, you know, sometimes dehumanizes a guy. I mean, we all know he's making a lot of money. 2 balls and a strike. The count to Brian McCann. There are a lot of people, though, Eric, that feel like Chipper Jones has been re-engaged with the influx of young talent that's been put on the roster around him, and that might be one of the reasons that he wants to ride this out another couple of years.
Well, he is the guy. He is the veteran. I mean, even the last few years, you know, there may have been other guys that had been around the league for a while that were on the ball club, but he is that guy now. And from a public perception standpoint, he is the face of the franchise. He is the leader. But I will say this, with all due respect to Chipper Jones, the guy at the plate right now, Brian McCann, he's your leader of the Atlanta Braves right now. And when Chipper moves on, Brian McCann assumes that baton.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Brian McCann. And most of the conversation is that both of the guys you discuss are generous enough to where who the leader is really isn't a point of contention. Neither one of those guys thumps their chest and says, this is my team, listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them has a shirt that says leader across the chest.
McCann lines it into the opposite field for out number 2. Time for a DirecTV game break. Another game going on as we speak as the Red Sox try to make it 2 in a row. Eric Chavez cashing in against Clay Buchholz is coming in the top of the second. After a run had already scored, Chavez doubles in another, and the Yankees behind Ivan Nova have a 2-0 lead on the road today. AL East, not what we thought it would be. 1-6, looking up at the rest of the pack are the Rays. They scored 5 in the 9th in Chicago to upend the White Sox yesterday.
Nice win for Tampa. It was good. They needed that.
On a day where they got some challenging news. Red Sox off to a slow start as well, despite the win yesterday. And how about a 1-2-3 middle of the order 4th for Roy Oswalt? Played 4 complete. It's 3-2 Phillies. 3-2 Philadelphia as we start the top half of the fifth, and Roy Oswalt will dig in against Brandon Beachy to get it going. Oswalt then the top of the order, Victorino and Polanco. Matt Vasgersian alongside Eric Karros. And we are joined this half inning by last night's starting and winning pitcher, Braves right-hander Tim Hudson, good enough to take some time. Tim, thanks for the visit. And before we get into you and the staff, give us your first impressions of the young kid on the mound for the Braves this afternoon. A lot of conversation about the poise and the maturity with which Brandon Beachy goes about his job.
Yeah, man, let me tell you something about this fella. He's he's got a pair. I'm gonna tell you what. He came up last year and he really showed us something, pitching some big games for us right there at the end of the year. You know, he was in AAA and just actually came up for a spot start and just really, you know, showed us something, man. He's got a lot of guts. He goes out there and competes. He's got great stuff. His work ethic is phenomenal. I mean, he's an absolute beast in the weight room. So it's fun to see.
Ball and 2 strikes to Roy Oswalt. And that's a fair ball. Took Adrian Johnson a moment to get his bearings straight there. The throw from Hayward is in time to get him.
Oswalt just shoots his ball down the line. Umpire makes a right call. You see, you're not going to challenge Hayward with his arm. He just shoots it down there. Roy Oswalt, he's out. Watch this. Oh! Wow. It's a line shot. Gonzalez puts a tag on him. Putty, if you're running right there, do you beat that out?
Ah, no doubt. No doubt.
You probably, I'd say you're standing up probably, huh?
Yeah. I don't know, man. My wheels have gotten a lot worse in my old age.
Here's Shane Victorino now with 1 out. Fine throw by Jason Hayward.
So, Tim, are you guys a better team than you were last year? And if you are, why?
Yeah, no doubt. I think we definitely are. You know, we brought in Dan Ugly. He brings us some right-handed pop that we've been lacking in years past. And I think our pitching's a lot better. I think our starting rotation's really good. It's really deep. You know, we have some guys in the minor leagues that are almost ready to come up here and help us out if need be. You know, the one question mark coming into the season was, you know, who's going to be pitching the 9th inning for us. But you know, we've had any number of 2 or 3 guys down there could pitch at 9th inning for us. But Kimbrel has really came up and stepped up for us, and you know, that kid's really, really good. He's got some good stuff. And it's going to be exciting to see how he develops this year and just takes control of that 9th inning closer spot and hammers it down for us.
Tim, 2 starts, 2 wins for you so far in 2011. Are you a different starter than you were 5 years ago with the Oakland A's since the surgery? Are you different on the mound, or are you back to being the same guy?
You know, I'm about the same, I think. You know, obviously, I think I pitch a little smarter now. I think I'm more of a pitcher now than I was back then. I was definitely more of a thrower, more of a stuff guy, and just try to get you out with my stuff. And you know, now you know, the older you get, the wiser you get. You just try to make pitches and try to do it with less effort. You know, it's back when you're young, man. You just go out there and let it fly and see what happens. Now, you know, you just try to take one pitch at a time, one at bat at a time, and make pitches and change speeds and get back in that dugout as quick as you can.
Victorino rolls over a ground ball for Dan Ugla, and that's out number 2.
Have you said anything or talked to Beachy, or even when Minor was up or something? I mean, it's odd. You're the veteran guy. You're the knowledgeable guy. Are you imparting any wisdom on those guys?
I throw wisdom at them all day. All day. I give them nuggets here and there. You know, I just don't know if those young kids are grasping it yet. But you know, it's, you know, I've you know, fortunately I came up with guys like yourself. You know, good veterans to kind of help you along, help you how to, you know, learn you how to, you know,
just move right on.
Level.
Move right on, honey. Just get right on.
So no, but you know, whatever I can do to help them out. You know, I love helping these kids out and try to help them along. You know, but you know, I'm gonna tell you what, man, they have some good stuff. They have a really good idea how to get guys out already. And if there's anything I can see to help them out, you know, myself or Derek Lowe or Chris Medlin, you know, we just try to throw little nuggets of wisdom out for them and let them better themselves.
Ball and 2 strikes to Placido Polanco, and I hesitate to ask you a question that'll take a long response, Tim, but I do want to ask you this before we lose you. You know, you look across the dugout and you see the quote-unquote 4 horsemen over there with the Phillies. You, as an established starter that's done so much in the big leagues yourself, do you pay attention and watch when an opposition guy like Cliff Lee or Roy Halladay takes the mound?
Sure, no doubt. You know, it's there's some great pitchers over there. You know, they've drawn the headlines this offseason, and for good reason. I mean, they've put together a really great staff over there. And you know, I'm a fan of baseball for one. You know, and just seeing what those guys can do any day, it's fun to watch. Obviously, I don't enjoy it when we're competing against them, but as a fan of the game, it's definitely exciting to see them go about their business and see how dominant they can be. But at the same time, man, I have a lot of fun watching our guys too. I mean, I think we have some guys that can really go out there and twirl it themselves.
Tim Hudson, thanks for the time. We appreciate the visit and continued success to you this season.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Huddy.
You got it, buddy.
Middle of the ball game. It's 3-2 Phillies. Is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Well, Roy Oswalt back to work in the 5th, and he'll get Jason Hayward, Alex Gonzalez, and Freddie Freeman, the 6, 7, 8 hitters for Freddie Gonzalez here. Now your Jeep game summary in the middle of the afternoon. Brian Schneider's 2-run home run in the 4th, delivering the lead for the Fightin' Phils. Roy Oswalt has gone 4, and Brandon Beachy has gone 5, allowing the 3 earns so far this afternoon. You don't like to say what we expected, but given the quality of starting pitching that we had on the paper today, you don't come here looking for an 8-7 ball game.
No, and neither pitcher is disappointed. Outside of that ball that Schneider hit, and the Braves have a few hits, but ground balls the other way. Gonzalez hit a double into the corner. Haven't been a lot of hard hit balls today.
One area where Roy Oswalt has outpitched his young counterpart this afternoon has been in the first pitch strike category. 14 of 15 hitters have been issued strike 1 by Halladay, whereas for Beachy, 8 of the 20 he's faced have gotten strike 1. 2-2 now to Jason Hayward.
Well, and that's where Beachy got himself into trouble, facing Raul Ibanez with 2 outs in that 4th inning. He threw 4 straight balls to Ibanez, then a first ball pitch to Schneider. He'd thrown 5 straight balls, so he's just looking to groove one over the middle of the plate. Schneider got him for a 2-run shot.
Hayward breaks his bat. Oswalt smothers and gets him, and there's one gone. Certainly there's been a lot written about the Phillies, quote, Fab Four of 2011 after reacquiring the signing of Cliff Lee. All the comparisons to the 1970 Orioles came up. They're 420 game winners. But what about the Fantastic Four here in Atlanta that led to that consecutive run of division flags in the middle 90s? Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, Steve Avery was a big contributor there. First season with all 4 of them together, they won 75 games, 18 complete game victories.
And not a fun weekend when you were a player to come into that and see those guys looking ahead.
Chipper Jones had this to say on the Phillies staff, quote, I've heard other comparisons to our staffs in the 90s over the years. This is the first one that's deserving of that. That ran in Sports Illustrated in early April. Wall ball is what Alex Gonzalez plays. A double-double afternoon for the Atlanta shortstop.
I said it earlier, some guys just see some pitchers very well. Gonzalez coming into this game hitting .400 against Roy Oswalt. 2 doubles. This one to left center. Another 2 or 3 feet. We have a tie ball game. See Gonzalez getting extension there. Doesn't have to swing hard. Again with the ball traveling a little bit.
Freddie Freeman now with a chance to knock in a run. Runner in scoring position. That's Alex Gonzalez with only 1 away. Freeman singled in a run and then scored in the 3rd. Might have noticed at home the Phillies wearing a script white B on a black background on their left chest of the uniform. That's worn as a tribute to 2 longtime members of their ownership group, Alexander K. Whip Buck and his brother Jim Buck, who recently passed away. One ball and 1 strike to Freddie Freeman. Youth certainly served in this Atlanta lineup, and we talked about the commitment they've started to make toward these younger players earlier in the telecast. But with Jason Hayward and Freddie Freeman in the opening day lineup at the age of 21, it marked the first time the Braves had 2 such players in an opening day lineup since 1979. When Bob Horner and Glenn Hubbard both started at that age. Little comebacker for Oswalt, and that's out number 2. And 2 lucky fans are watching every big league game during the season and sharing their experiences with fans throughout the entire season-long adventure. Check in with them at MLBFanCave.com to see the latest. Nick Swisher went down to the Fan Cave in Manhattan and watched some games with the fans. 2 guys are living there all summer, EK.
You're going to have to stop by there, huh? Say hello.
All the food and drink they want, watching games all day. Not a bad way to kill a summer, I got to say. Here's Brandon Beachy now.
That's kind of what you do anyhow in your side gig, right? Over
yeah.
MLB Network. Watch games all day.
It's exactly like that, actually. Sit around and eat and watch games. Beachy laid down a sacrifice in his first plate appearance behind 0-2.
Oswalt doing a nice job today. 4 times already he's fielded his position and recorded the out at first base. So he's been very adept today with the glove. Outside of Gonzalez, they have not hit the ball well against him at all.
Gonzalez has half the Braves hit total, and that's where it'll stay as Roy Oswalt strikes out Beachy to strand that runner. The big fella Ryan Howard bats second as we go to the top of the 6th. Phillies up 3-2. Budweiser is sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball across the country, and by Men's Rogaine Foam. Use it or lose it. With Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian, top half of inning number 6, and the Phillies on top of the Braves, trying to even up this 3-game series here in early April. A 3-2 lead for the Phils. Jimmy Rollins will lead things off. Rollins, Howard, and Francisco against the rookie right-hander Brandon Beachy. Jay Smooth, as he is known in his circles, an Oakland, California guy, grew up a big fan of Rickey Henderson and does pound for pound the best Rickey Henderson impression you're ever going to see on a baseball field. Appeared in an MC Hammer video. MC Hammer, of course, a story well told by now, a former Oakland A's bat boy. And the two have that in common in their background. And his cousin Tony Tarasco, the Orioles outfielder involved in the famous Jeffrey Mayer game years ago. And Jay Smooth will be on base to start things in the 6th. Thinking about 3, and he throws on the brakes around second with a leadoff double.
A pitch on the inner half of the plate, drives this ball to right center, and from the get-go, he's thinking third base. You look at him right now, breaking out of the box. He's thinking third, thinking third. Remember the cardinal rule in baseball: you don't want to make the first or third out at third base. Thinks better of it. The middle of the lineup, your 4, 5, and 6 coming to the plate, stays at second base.
So an RBI opportunity now for Ryan Howard, who has been intentionally walked and fly to center. Howard wraps the first pitch to first base, and that'll move Rollins to third on out number 1.
Well, Howard does the job, moves Jimmy Rollins over to third base for Ben Francisco coming to the plate with just 1 out. But Beachy also has to be happy. Retires Howard. Howard swinging the bat so darn well this early part of the year.
Ben Francisco now, and the Braves will bring the infield in with 1 away from him. Francisco already in the series, 3 for 5 with 2 runs batted in. You know, Jimmy Rollins, Eric, if we can get back to him for a moment, it seems that in each of the past couple of years, there has been one noteworthy Philly who's playing in the last year of a multi-year deal. Last year it was Jason Worth, and there was a lot of conversation as to whether or not there'd be money left in the kitty for a long-term deal for Worth. As it turned out, they let him leave. And a very lucrative deal is what he found in Washington, of course. Jimmy Rollins is that guy this year, playing in a very important year for him, contractually speaking. He could hit the open market next year. To the pulled-in infield. Dan Uggla makes the play, throws to third, and doubles off Rollins. A leadoff double, but the Phillies are kept off the scoreboard in the 6th. Still 3-2 Philadelphia. to open up the visitors' half of the 6th inning, and then with Rollins at third and one gone, got hung up into no man's land on the line drive by Ben Francisco, and that helped Brandon Beachy get out of a tight spot in the inning.
Yeah, Jimmy Rollins going on contact right there. A low liner, Uggla gloves it, easily flips it over to Chipper.
So the top of the order is what Roy Oswalt faces in the 6th, and Martin Prado opens with a line drive handled by Ben Francisco. As a part of our Fox Sports Supports charitable initiative, we're proud to wear these pins during our 2011 Big League season to support Stand Up to Cancer and their work to find groundbreaking research that helps accelerate treatment to patients. For more information, you can visit standuptocancer.org/Fox Sports. Proud to be involved in Stand Up to Cancer. Matt Vasgersian, Eric Karros, good to have you with us from Atlanta this afternoon. Braves trailing the Phillies by a run. Nate McLouth batting now with one gone. McLouth hitless on the afternoon so far, and certainly hoping, Eric, to avoid the kind of cavernous slump that really derailed him in 2010.
Well, not only is he hoping that, the Braves are hoping that. We talked to manager Freddie Gonzalez before the game, and for him, there's two keys to this ball club. Chipper Jones and his health, being able to be run out there 140 some odd games. And Nate McLouth, returning to that all-star form he had in Pittsburgh. I mean, he does things, or has the capability to do things on both sides. Defensively, he's got an excellent arm, can cover ground. Offensively, the top of the lineup. Get on base, can run a little bit. Left-handed. But he has to produce.
Well, center field was a real problem for the Braves in terms of productivity last year. It wasn't just Nate McLouth. In fairness, there was a lot of Melky Cabrera out there. There was a lot of Rick Ankiel out there. They combined dead last in batting average and runs scored from that position as McLouth pops it in the infield for Polanco. And it was curious last year, too. He wasn't hurt, although he did suffer a concussion later on, but he was well in the hole, as they say, before the injury. There wasn't a great shift in philosophy for him. There wasn't a new swing, a new stance he was playing with. Here's Chipper Jones now with two gone.
No, but I will say one thing that was new, not necessarily. Well, I will say, I think it had a lot to do with it. You play in Pittsburgh, and then you play in Atlanta. In Pittsburgh, you're not playing meaningful games. Okay, I mean, with all due respect, you haven't played a meaningful game since '92. In Atlanta, the games mean something. You're expected to play at a certain level, and you put that pressure on yourself, and it's tough to play this game when everything's great, let alone when you're put undue stress.
Well, a talented player and somebody that Freddie Gonzalez told us he has a lot of faith in. Still a little off-putting for some to look into that Braves dugout and not see Bobby Cox in the corner of it. First time in 20 years that there's been somebody other than Bobby filling out a lineup card. Two balls and two strikes to Jones.
I was going to say, though, Freddie Gonzalez, a solid choice to lead this Atlanta ball club. Very in tune with the players, very easygoing guy, but demands respect, commands respect, I should say.
And it's not like the organization took a big philosophical U-turn. Of course, Freddie was a member of Bobby's coaching staff for 4 years before going on to manage the Florida Marlins. 3 balls and 2 strikes. The count to Chipper Jones with the bases empty and 2 gone here in the 6th. You can keep a manager within the division. Sometimes it works out very well. Look at Bruce Bochy staying in the NL West and winning a World Series in San Francisco last year. Jones is aboard on a 2-out base hit. Rio, a movie that will bring the world to its feet this Friday. Two-out base runner now for Brian McCann.
Well, Brian McCann's hit the ball well. He's had 2 good at-bats. His first at-bat drove it deep to left center. Shane Victorino ran it down, and last at-bat lined out to Ibanez and left.
Tying run on base with 2 gone in the inning, and the first offering to McCann is in for a strike. There has been no bullpen activity so far this afternoon. A couple of bullpens that have worked to varying degrees of success in this young 2011 season. Roy Oswalt continues his first pitch strike success. And it's 1-1 now to McCann.
You know, interesting right now, Ryan Howard holding Chipper Jones at first base with the left-handed hitter McCann up at the plate. I'd almost play off of the bag. I dare Chipper to run. You know, the Braves only 1 stolen base so far this year, and that was Brian McCann. Remember Chipper coming off the knee surgery last year. If I'm Ryan Howard, I play back. I give myself a little range instead of holding Chipper at first.
But make a good point there. I mean, even Chipper Jones not coming off the ACL surgery, not exactly a threat to run in this stage of his career.
No, and you're not going to take the bat out of Brian McCann's hands. Just not sure that I'd be holding him on.
Oswalt out of the stretch, and the 2-1 almost hits McCann. 3 balls and a strike now. Dan Uggla licking his chops, waiting next. This part of the lineup has been quiet with the exception of Chipper's single that put him on first base moments ago. The 3-4-5 batters, the 13 combined all-star appearances, were 0 for their first 6 against Roy Oswalt today. That's how good the Philly starter has been. And there's ball 4. Help make a baseball moment kids will never forget. Go to ChevyBaseball.com to support youth baseball, plus enter to win one of 4 trips to the 2011 Major League All-Star Game in Phoenix and the keys to a brand new Chevrolet. The micro rally brewing here for Atlanta. Dan Uggla with an opportunity now. Runners at first and second and 2 gone. And again, the Braves trailing by a run.
Well, Uggla has not had good passes against Oswalt. Struck out and the ground ball right back to the pitcher.
And in fact, that's a trend that has been true throughout Uggla's career against Roy Oswalt, including his 0 for 2 today. Just 3 for 22 against the 3-time All-Star. His name is Dan Uggla, as they used to say about him down in South Florida. Uggla meaning owl in Swedish. There's your Cliff Clavin nonsense for the day. Hit the last ever home run at Shea Stadium. And his Florida fan club Uglies, no early word on whether or not they've moved to Atlanta. 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, when you're in this position as a hitter, you're looking for 1 pitch in 1 spot, especially when you haven't had success against a certain pitcher. And just because he may throw a strike, that does not mean you offer at it. You look for a certain pitch in a certain spot. If it's not there, you don't swing.
Takes a wave and a miss. It's 2-1. Uggla struck out on 3 pitches in the second and grounded back to the pitcher in the 4th.
And even right here, if I'm Dan Uggla, and again, I haven't had success against Roy Oswalt, I'm looking for a fastball right here, 2-1. I still have 2 strikes to play with. If I don't get it, I lay off.
Uggla, of course, with prolific power, especially when you compare him to others at his position. His 154 home runs in his first 5 seasons, the most among second basemen. Second
okay
baseman's or second baseman?
Whatever you want to say. Whatever you say it with conviction. It's right, Matty.
Okay. Appreciate that.
We're talking about being right. This is, as a hitter, this is where the discipline comes in. 3-1, it's got to be right where you want to hit it. Right where you want to hit it. If it's not there, you take it.
Well off the plate, and the bases are loaded. So this two-out hole getting a little stickier for Roy Oswalt. He gives up the base hit to Chipper Jones. And then back-to-back walks to McCann and Uggla. We'll see Rich Doobie come out for the first time this afternoon. This gets back to what we talked about, I think, a little earlier, Eric, the fact that Roy Oswalt may not have been as stretched out as the rest of the rotation because of the abbreviated start in his Grapefruit League finale. Here in the 6th inning, his command has left him. He threw 17 balls through the first 5 innings, but here in the 6th, 13 balls. So missing with a bit more frequency here.
Right, now, I think, as you mentioned, there's something to be said about that, having the stamina and the strength. You know, he's still building on that right now. Probably doesn't get to where he needs to be for another couple of starts. But still, dominating stuff. He's walking guys. It's not as if they're going up there and hitting line shots everywhere. Even Chipper Jones, it was a ground ball to right field.
A big, meaty opportunity for Jason Hayward. 0 for 2 so far this afternoon.
When we talk about Hayward's discipline as a hitter, he has the 8 walks. This is where he's really got to become disciplined, make Oswalt throw strikes.
This is as excited as this robust crowd has been today here in Atlanta. Bases full of Braves with 2 gone. Atlanta down a run. Shattered bat infield pop. Polanco's on it, and they die loaded in the 6th. In and out of trouble is the 3-time All-Star. We'll return to Atlanta after a word from your local Fox station. Saturday baseball presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Well, the Braves let a big situation slip away. Roy Oswalt, the crafty veteran, gets Jason Hayward to jam a pop-up with the bases loaded and wiggle off the hook. Still a 3-2 lead for the Phillies, top half of the seventh, and Raul Ibanez, Brian Schneider, and Wilson Valdez go to work against the rookie right-hander Brandon Beachy. And a base hit opens for Raul Ibanez. On his way to second as that one rattles around in right. Second consecutive inning in which the Phillies have opened with a two-base hit. Now it's time for the Just for Men Keep Your Edge Spotlight. Brian Schneider with a two-run home run, his first of the season. And that gave the Phillies the lead they currently enjoy. You can keep your edge with Just for Men Mustache and Beard. And it looks like that may be the end of the afternoon for the rookie right-hander as Freddy Gonzalez wants a southpaw for Schneider. A pitching change for the Braves. We'll be right back. For Brandon Beachy against the Philadelphia Phillies, and I don't think I'm stretching it to say that he's pitched well enough to win at least one up. 6+ this afternoon, 3 earned runs.
Another quality start for Brandon Beachy, and really he got himself into trouble with one hitter, and the next hitter got him, and that one hitter was Raul Ibanez, because he ended up throwing 4 straight pitches to him that were all balls. Throws a next ball to Brian Schneider, and then grooves one right down the middle. 2-run shot right there, and that's the difference in the ball game.
So the Phillies here go to the bench for John Mayberry, batting for the left-hander Schneider. Charlie Manuel turning it around to play his percentages in his favor, and in fact has had the Midas touch when going to the bench. Phillies enter play today with the big league leading 7 pinch hits. They are 7 for 13 as a bench corps. John Mayberry delivered one of the biggest so far in this young 2011 season. Oh, and 2 from George Sherrill.
as a hitter, you go up there with an idea, a plan. I'm trying to move that runner over to third base. But when you have 2 strikes, now it's just try to put the bat on the ball, force the Braves to make a play.
John Mayberry put the bat on the ball on opening day, April 1st. Phillies entered the inning, the bottom of the 9th, down by 2. They rallied for 3 and won it against Brandon Line, and Mayberry had the game winner off the bench. First walk-off win by the Phillies on opening day since 1974. And Mayberry cashes in off the bench again. A base hit in front of Martin Prado to put runners at the corners with nobody out.
Well, a good job by Mayberry being down in the count 0-2 and then 1-2. Just battling and putting the bat on the ball. If you put the bat on the ball, something good can happen. Didn't hit it well, but strong enough to fight it out to left field. Gets the runner over to third base. Pretty good running by Raul Ibanez, halfway off, and then able to move to third.
So now Wilson Valdez, runners at the corner, still nobody out here. Another right-handed opportunity for the Phillies against the southpaw Sherrill. You know, a word on George Sherrill. He came over as a free agent this past offseason after a 2010 that had to be categorized as a disappointment for him with the Dodgers. Former closer in Baltimore, and really struggled last year in LA to the tune of a 6.69 ERA over 65 appearances.
Yeah, he had a trying time last year in LA, and it's ironic because when he first came over in 09, that last 2 months he was dominant. The Dodgers thought that they were going to get that from him last year, but was never able to get on track. Eventually lost his role over there as a setup guy to Jonathan Broxton.
Sherrill is one of 3 left-handed bullets that Freddie Gonzalez has in his bullpen. And the big gun down there from the left side, Johnny Venters, is likely to have a day off this afternoon. He's a guy that they'd like to stay away from. He's already had his number called a lot. In fact, Venters made 83 appearances last year, so he's a guy that they're aware of in terms of overuse, and they want to give him a blow this afternoon. I'd say any questions that anybody would have had about the Atlanta bullpen, given the retirement of Billy Wagner. Guys like Johnny Venters, Craig Kimbrell, they're as good as any young back of the bullpen duo in baseball these days.
Well, both arms are electric, and Freddie Gonzalez telling me the other day that he wasn't afraid to use either one to close. So far, Kimbrell's got the most of those opportunities, and he's been dominant.
And meanwhile, little trouble still for George Sherrill. He has fallen behind Wilson Valdez 3-0. There's a strike, 3-1. Carlos Ruiz is on deck to pinch hit in the pitcher spot, and he'll stay out there as Brian Schneider was also pinch hit for this inning. Phillies trying to add on here in the 7th. And there is ball 4.
The last 10 minutes really been a momentum shift here in this game. The Braves looked like they were going to be able to tie the game or take the lead, unable to do it. Now the Braves are on the ropes, down 3-2.
To the bullpen for the second time this inning to try to prevent this thing from getting out of hand. Down by a run, bases loaded, nobody out, and the veteran right-hander Scott Linebrink goes to work against the pinch hitter Carlos Ruiz. Ibanez opened the inning with a double, a pinch hit singled by John Mayberry. Wilson Valdez walked, and the first offering from Linebrink is in for a strike. Ruiz being given the day off to start, and Brian Schneider certainly filled in admirably today with a 2-run home run. Ruiz being given a chance late. 0-2.
This is tough, though. You come to the ballpark, you're not playing, you think you've got the day off, and then boom, you're asked to come in and arguably the most crucial point of the ball game and expect it to produce. It's almost easier if you're just told, look, you're going to play today.
A swing and a high drive to deep left field. And Carlos Ruiz has just hit a grand slam. Hey, it's a good day to be a Philly catcher. 2-run shot for Brian Schneider. Pinch hit salami for Chooch.
It's just a fastball up and in. I mean, they're trying to go outside. This thing just comes back over the inner part of the plate. Carlos Ruiz ready for the fastball, jumps on it. This inning, George Sherrill had Mayberry down 0-2, couldn't put him away. Linebrink has Ruiz down 0-2. Braves pitchers are going to be kicking themselves for that.
One of those runs the responsibility of Brandon Beachy. 2 are charged to George Sherrill. And Carlos Ruiz's first career grand slam has made it a 7-2 Phillies lead. Placido Polanco now. A base hit in front of McLeod. Still nobody out in the inning.
How about this? The Phillies this year, when they score more than 3 runs, 5-0. They got 7.
Placido Polanco now. There was so much hand-wringing over the offseason, Eric, as you know, about what would happen to the Phillies offense with the absence of Jason Worth. And this was before they learned that Chase Utley was going to miss a significant portion of the season. And I suppose if you look back on 2010, the sky is falling pundit in Philadelphia had cause for concern, because there was that period of the season last year when the offense just went away. And the Phillies stopped reminding everybody of an American League offense with a DH as they had for the previous couple of seasons.
But I think what this offense has done in this brief sample so far, the early part of the year, they've become more of a team that's manufacturing runs. They're taking walks, they're moving guys over. They have 7 stolen bases. I think a lot of that too is a function of what happened to them in the postseason last year. Against the Giants, they ran into some very tough pitching. You weren't going to just go out there and bang the ball all around. You're going to have to do the quote-unquote little things. And every club tries to do it, but you really got to buy into it. And I think the Philly Ball Club, they bought into it this early part of the year.
Victorino running. Throw down his second is too late. Late 5-run lead. Victorino gets a green light and goes. His second bag of the year.
Well, that's 8 bags now for this Philly Ball Club. Only been caught 1 time. That was Victorino. Houston Astros got him. Catcher Quintero threw him out from his knees. Otherwise, the Phillies would be perfect.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Placido Polanco now. So Scott Linebrink His struggles continue as he looks for his first out in the outing. And Polanco commits on 2-2. And that's the first out here in the top of the 7th. You know, there was that period last year, and to get back to that, Eric, talking about the Philly offense. They started out last year the same way they've started this year. Big. 5-1 start last year. They were hitting .315 through the first 6 games, scoring over 7 runs a game. And then they ran into this 10-week rut where they went 43-45, played sub-500 baseball. Rollins went down. Offense sputtered. Worth was cold. And they hit .249 as a team. And people were concerned in Philadelphia that that once mighty swagger had gone. Well, they picked it up, and everything clicked after the deadline, of course, with the additions they made.
Well, you hit it right on the head. I remember General Manager Ruben Amaro was ready to sell. I mean, he was talking to clubs about Jason Worth. They go on a little stretch for about a week and a half where they win some ball games, and they get back into the mix, and all of a sudden they become buyers.
And what they bought wasn't what people thought they were looking to buy, and that's pitching.
Well, they were convinced that the offense would eventually come around. You know, these are the guys that had got him there the previous couple of years, and they were right. Utley started to swing it better, and Ryan Howard got hot.
1-2 to Rollins is fouled away.
You know, Ruiz, we saw today, hit the grand slam. He's a guy that just floats under the radar. But he's hitting at the bottom part of that lineup, and he's a very potent offensive player. Gets on base a ton.
Goes a long way to explaining his immense popularity in Philadelphia. He is a fan favorite. He's a fan favorite and a player favorite as well, to the degree that Roy Halladay had a duplicate Cy Young Award made to present to his catcher last year. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Rollins, and he's hanging around. I think Philly is a town, and you know from your years playing in the league, that can appreciate that below the radar blue collar guy perhaps as well as any city in North American sports. They have really grabbed on to Carlos Ruiz. Here's the 2-2 and a wave and a miss. This May, Fox Sports will bring you some of baseball's best matchups and biggest stars in a special 3-week primetime event you won't want to miss. Fox Saturday Baseball in prime time begins May 14th in high definition. Got a night game under the lights at Wrigley, one of your old haunts.
Looking forward to that.
Night baseball at Boston's Fenway Park. Here's Ryan Howard now with 2 gone. Were you one of those old purists when you were a Cub, thinking that they should still only play day games at Wrigley?
No, I appreciated the night games. The difficulty in playing Chicago is you have so many different start times. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you could have, well, you do. You have 3 different start times. And as a player, no matter where you're at, you get into routines, and you got the 7 o'clock game. You get into a pattern, and then when you have the day game, then that kind of throws you off. But then when you're constantly changing start times, it can throw you off.
That's what's happened a lot through the first week of the season, as it always does. The league tries its best to accommodate teams having a home opener without much competition around it on the schedule. So as a result, you get a lot of days off the first week of the season, which players despise because you can't get into that groove. And you have a lot of different start times based on home openers and pregame ceremonies. As Ryan Howard takes a pitch the other way to deep left. This gets over Prado and scores Victorino. Howard on his way to second with an RBI double, making it 8-2 Phillies.
Ryan Howard letting this ball travel. Outer part of the plate. He doesn't try to pull it. Drives it to left center. A lot of guys roll over that ball, ground ball to second base. He's strong enough and confident enough to know that that pitch is on the outer part of the plate. He can drive it. It's actually not that bad of a pitch. Low and away. But Howard on top of things right now.
Ben Francisco on the first pitch hits it on the ground to Chipper Jones, and that retires the inning. However, the Phillies bat around and route to scoring 5. 4 of them on this big swing. First career grand slam for Carlos Ruiz. It's 8-2 Phillies. Sponsored by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Keep your edge. By the new 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And by Majestic Athletic, the official uniform of Major League Baseball. 7th inning stretch here in Atlanta. That top of the 7th inning not very pleasing to the home faithful. Back with Eric Harros, Matt Vasgersian, and our entire Fox Sports crew. It's an 8-2 lead for the visitors. And Charlie Manuel has gone to his bullpen for right-hander David Herndon here in the bottom of the 7th. Alex Gonzalez leads it off, 2 for 2, a pair of doubles against Roy Oswalt. Some other changes. Carlos Ruiz, as we indicated, does in fact stay in the game at catcher after his dramatic pinch hit grand slam the previous half inning. Gonzalez followed by Freeman. And then the number 9 spot, pitcher Scott Linebrink, and I would imagine a bat off the bench would be applied there.
Gonzalez probably the only guy sad to see Roy Oswalt out of the game.
Soft liner out to left that Ibanez got a late break on, but handles, and there's one away. Home plate umpire Fielden Culbreth wearing a microphone for us this afternoon. It's Gary Cedarstrom. Anyway, one of the umpires is wearing a microphone.
We don't need that. We don't need that to start. Yeah, but I don't sweat much for a fat guy. Hey, don't be dumping on me. I heard you.
Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief and 17-year veteran, wearing the microphone for us. Fielden Culbreth, also a veteran umpire, not wearing a microphone, but we thank the entire crew for their cooperation.
You know, the thing we saw first, though, Gary throwing that ball out that it hit the ground in warm-ups, and very important. The umpires watch when pitchers are warming up, because the hitter that's coming up to the plate isn't always watching, and that ball's scuffed up. Pitcher can get a hold of that, do some things with it, make it move, and he was right on top of it.
Freddie Freeman with a sharply hit ground ball for his opposite number. Ryan Howard wins the race to the bag, and there are 2 away. What do you think of the new gear the umpires are wearing this year? That's a new helmet. Got the flat paint on it.
I think it's a slimming look, a futuristic look.
New cage
nice.
on the front.
Yeah, I think that's you could wear that out at the club, wear that to the mall, be locked in.
I think it looks a lot better than the old Rick Moranis dark helmet. That huge,
the huge
shiny
helmet.
one.
You do that, and you couple that with the big balloon vest that the old American League umpires used to wear.
Yes.
Bring it back.
Matt Young is a pinch hitter, and Herndon makes quick work of him with some flashy help from Ryan Howard. A very quick 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th. It's still 8-2 Phillies. In that big crooked number in the top of the 7th inning, the 5 spot, 4 of them on the Ruiz pinch hit grand slam has been the big difference so far today. 8-2 Phillies, top of the 8th, and the Braves go to the bullpen. Right-hander Christian Martinez will work the top of the 8th. Raul Ibanez leads it off against Martinez. It'll be Ibanez the pitcher spot, and then Wilson Valdez for the Phillies. Martinez had that proverbial cup of coffee last year. A short stint with the big league club after being claimed off the Marlins waiver wire. 1 pitch, 1 out for him in the 8th. Time now for a DirecTV game break. Yankees starting to pour it on at the fence. Russell Martin, 3-run job, his 2nd as a Bomber. Curtis Granderson gets into the act as well, his 2nd of the season, and it's all Yankees so far in a game that probably will take 7 or 8 hours to complete. 7-4 New York.
We wish Joe and Tim a speedy game. I don't think they're going to get that. 7-4 in the 5th.
The Yankees or Red Sox, as you know as well as anybody, has a tendency to go on a bit into the night. Here's Michael Martinez now, the Rule 5 selection, who made the opening day roster. Shot back up the box. Look out for your lips. Martinez with a big aggressive turn, happy with a 1-out single.
No. Man. That'll get the adrenaline going a little bit, if it wasn't already. Could you imagine if in the big leagues they had aluminum bats? Oh my goodness. You might as well have an ambulance right over on the side of the field too.
Here's Wilson Valdez now. You know, I would make the case that they shouldn't even be playing with aluminum bats at the collegiate level.
Well, they changed them this year. They took a lot of the, I don't know what they took out of them, but they're different material, and offensively the collegiate game has changed.
Ball and no strikes to Valdez. I think, you know, there was enough of a problem in the big leagues with the lacquered up maple bats that had become so favored by so many hitters until the league stepped in and started applying standards to those. So many breakages, and in fact early on in the season, as the league has done in the past, they are collecting as many shattered bats as possible just to keep that surveying, just to keep that studying alive, to make sure that bats aren't breaking hazardously. A high fly ball for Hayward fighting the sun, and out number 2.
And here I thought they were collecting them, gluing them, having the players sign them, and then you'd see them in the gift shop upstairs selling them for $99.99.
They're doing a little of that too. Here's Carlos Ruiz now with 2 gone. That grand slam in the 7th, his first career grand slam, and it came as a pinch hitter against Scott Linebrink and blew this bad boy open in the 7th.
And came on an 0-2 pitch. And that's really been the story of the Braves today. 0-2 to Mayberry, who ends up getting a base hit. It was a 1-2 count at the time. They extend the inning. Ruiz hits a grand slam on an 0-2 pitch. And even going back to that 4th inning when Beachy gave up the home run to Schneider, 2-run shot, he had 2 quick outs. 4 pitches, 2 outs, nobody on. Walks Ibanez, and then Schneider, whack. 2-run shot.
2 balls and a strike from Christian Martinez. First Braves game, maybe. Ruiz stays hot. Into the left field corner as it dumps in front of Prado. Martinez is being waved around to score. He'll do so without a play at the plate. Add an RBI double to his pinch hit grand slam afternoon.
This is a sweet off day. That's all I got to say. You're not playing today, Chooch. All right, Skip, I'll just come on in, pick up 5 ribbies, a double, a home run. Ask for an off day tomorrow and the next day.
A career high 5 runs batted in this afternoon for Carlos Ruiz. Top of the order, Shane Victorino now. It's easy to kind of live anonymously down at the bottom of a lineup like Carlos Ruiz does when your lineup includes former National League MVPs, perennial All-Stars, 3,100 threats. Ruiz, the guy in the past 2 postseasons who has represented the hottest part of the lineup once October comes.
Yeah, the thing about it, though, he may hide down there, but there's a difficulty hitting in the bottom of the lineup. You usually don't have any protection. Pitchers don't necessarily have to go after you. They can pitch around you. You have to be very disciplined to be effective down there. Or you have to be very offensively specific. I mean by that you're a hit and run guy or you're a speed guy. He's just a flat-out good hitter, hitting at the bottom of the lineup.
3 balls and no strikes to Shane Victorino. Carlos Ruiz, growing up in Panama and playing amateur baseball, was an infielder. I mean, you're playing into the stereotype. You know, when you look at a guy with his frame and you say it's hard to imagine seeing him play second base, but he's a terrific athlete. You know, it speaks to his skill set.
Well, made the transition to catcher almost seamlessly.
Still 2-2 to Shane Victorino. Yeah, the big leagues, of course, filled with stories of guys that were scouted to play at a position other than the one they star at the major league level. Today's Braves starter, Brandon Beachy, a third baseman and a closer in college, and gets to the big leagues as a starting pitcher. Two balls and 2 strikes. The count to Shane Victorino. You know, a game like this allows both managers, even though it's not something that Freddie Gonzalez aspires for, it allows them to make choices out of their bullpens that in a tighter situation, in a stretch of back-to-back games, they might not ordinarily make.
Well, you make decisions not necessarily for this game, but for tomorrow's game, 2 or 3 games out. You know, Freddie Gonzalez has already put this one in the books. I'm not saying he's not still trying to win it, but you've got to be more focused on having your group ready for tomorrow's game, having your bullpen lined up for tomorrow's game. Still a little surprised that McCann's in there catching.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Shane Victorino. He wraps it through the hole on the right side. Ruiz being waved around to score, and it's a 10-2 Philadelphia lead.
Watching first baseman Freddie Freeman after the play, he was talking to himself, and I think he was a little upset that he didn't make more of an effort to go after the ball. Again, he said, oh, I'm going to go, and then maybe not. You know, and after the play, he was seen talking to himself. And difficult sometimes for the first baseman.
Placido Polanco lifts a fly ball to center that will put a merciful close to a 2-run inning. To the bottom of the 8th, now 10-2 Phillies. Budweiser is sponsored by Lexus. Escape convention in the radically new Lexus CT Hybrid. And by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. With Eric Karros, Matt Vasgersian, last half of inning number 8. And it's all Phillies after 5 in the 7th and 2 more in the top of this frame. A 10-2 lead for the visitors. Martin Prado, the top of the order, will start things against J.C. Romero, the new pitcher on the mound for Philadelphia. Romero getting an inning of work this afternoon. Charlie Manuel very pleased with the way the left side of his bullpen has held up. Antonio Bastardo in particular, 6 straight strikeouts yesterday in the series opener here in Atlanta. 1 ball and 1 strike. One other game going on currently, and that's in Boston, where the Yankees lead the Red Sox 7-4. The rest of the activity on this second Saturday of the season, all happening later tonight. And when the Tampa Rays take on the Chicago White Sox at U.S. Cellular later on this evening, they will be doing so without Manny Ramirez, who rather unceremoniously announced his retirement yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know if it was really shocking. I think it was shocking to people that he just up and retired, and then news coming out that he had failed another one of those drug tests administered by Major League Baseball. And because it was his second offense, he was looking at a 100-game suspension. Just felt like he probably didn't want to deal with that. He's had a phenomenal career, no question about it. What he accomplished, obviously the way he accomplished it, going to be questioned, and there's going to be a ton of discussion. There's no question that a lot of people were excited to watch him hit.
Well, there's also little question that he had not been the same player parts of the last 2 seasons that he was even as recently as 2009 when he put the Dodgers on his shoulders.
Yeah, what he did for that 2-month period out in L.A., I mean, just completely reinvigorated the organization, the city, Mannywood. I mean, he was as good a hitter as I've ever seen for a 2-month stretch. But after that, it wasn't the same.
2-2 to Nate McLeod. Full count from Romero now, 3-2. So that huge shipment of Pirates of the Caribbean costumes that the Dodgers sent to the Rays gave him a good price on it, I understand. That's all being burned now. It's gone away entirely. Ground ball for Rollins, and there are 2 gone.
Well, just have Longoria when he comes back grow out his hair and save the stuff.
I got it. As much as the folks in LA love that whole Mannywood thing, it had become so cliche to see the guys coming to the ballpark with the Manny '99 jerseys and all the hair wigs and the.
LA needed something like that, though. The organization, they had Piazza in the '90s and then Eric Gagne and Game Over, and LA needed something, and at the time that was right. That was right for the ball club. It was right for the organization. The rest of the league may not have liked it.
No, tired.
Yeah,
that's what the rest of the league said.
Yep.
The icons here in Atlanta a little bit more timeless. You saw some Henry Aaron jerseys. Guys keeping the kids away from the dugout. Still got a big league ball game going on, right? Chipper Jones with a foul ball to make it 2-1. Get off my lawn, you doggone kids. Two-1 from Romero. So if you were surprised that Brian McCann was still in the ball game, given the score and given this early part of the season. Are you surprised to see Chipper Jones making a fourth plate appearance?
Well, there's two schools of thought there. I mean, he gets another at bat against a pitcher he may have to see tomorrow, so get him a little experience. But this game, it's 10-2, Matty.
Oh, I feel you. Top half of the ninth inning, Phillies on top of the Braves 10-2, looking to even up this 3-game series here on the second Saturday of the season. Phillies have gone about it with good starting pitching from Roy Oswalt and plenty of late offense. 5 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th. Just saw a shot of J.P. Boscan, the new catcher behind the plate, taking over for Brian McCann. And he will finish out the afternoon back there. Jimmy Rollins leads things off in the 9th. Rollins, Howard, and Francisco for the Phils. Swinging a drive to right. Hayward looks back and plays it off the fence. Second double of the afternoon for Jimmy Rollins. Well, just a couple of games away from knocking the Mets around 11-0. A game that represented a season high so far in runs and hits. Well, here the Phillies are on this Saturday with 10 runs on 15 hits, threatening to post the same kind of numbers. And here's Howard now.
Well, what they are doing, this Philadelphia offense, at least in the early part of the year, is they're getting to the guys that they're supposed to be getting to. Tim Hudson threw last night, and he threw extremely well. And, Tim Hudson, one of the top pitchers in the game, but so far, the Phillies haven't really had to go against any of the dominant guys. Brett Myers in Houston threw a good ball game, but you start getting into some of the guys on the Giants. You get more established guys on this staff. You go down to Florida and you see Johnson and those guys. that'll be interesting to see, how they fare against those type of pitchers.
Well, to your point, April is friendly in terms of the schedule for the Phillies, and to take nothing away from teams like the Astros and Mets, let's be honest, they're not teams looking to vie for a World Series ring come October, at least not in the minds of many pundits.
That is being honest, Matt.
Okay. So after this series, 3 with the Nationals, 3 with the Marlins, as Howard lifts a fly ball to left center. In terms of later on tonight, maybe the Phillies and Braves will be watching a little NASCAR tonight on Fox. We motor into Texas, where Denny Hamlin will try to defend his title and take home his 3rd straight checkered flag at the Texas Motor Speedway. Coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing begins tonight, live in prime time with the pre-race show delivered by Pizza Hut at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific in high definition here on Fox. Ben Francisco now with 1 away, and Rollins still at second.
So you're going to get back to that thought about the schedule? Or are we done?
Well, you're not into the end of the month until the Phillies go west to play 4 at San Diego against a very good pitching staff. But from there, they go to Arizona, and then they're back against the Mets and Nationals again. And there's a 3-game series with Milwaukee mixed in as well. So I think all told, April smiles at the defending division champs.
Well, and Charlie Manuel, when the question was posed about the offense and was he pleased the other day, he responded that he needed at least 30 games, before you could identify what type of group you were going to have. But as you just mentioned, you look at that schedule, I'm going to say maybe 60 games, because those games, those first 30, as you mentioned, they may be able to get by without seeing the top of the line stats. And again, now Atlanta yesterday with Hudson, and Beachy, a very good pitcher. But again, you're the Nationals, Astros, the Mets.
Marlins are in Houston tonight again, and the Nationals and Mets are head-to-head once again at Citi Field later on this evening. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Ben Francisco. Still the 2-2. Well, you get the sense that Charlie Manuel is just guarding against what happened last year, that offensive collapse, and he's aware that it's a "what have you done for me lately" read from the fans and the media, and he doesn't want to take anything for granted. He is the perfectly even-keeled manager for a market that can be a bit hyper-reactive, as big markets in the eastern part of the world can.
Well, and he also knows, as a former player, a hitter, a former hitting coach, that you're going to go through periods where you look like you could just beat anybody. And then there are other times when you've got kids that are coming up from AAA shutting you down. And he knows that even with this exciting start offensively that the Phillies have, you can't get on that wagon and say, oh yeah, this is we're set offensively, because there are going to be periods this year where they are going to struggle.
Swing and a miss, and Francisco goes down on strikes, and that's the second out of the inning for Christian Martinez. Phillies did not hit today, interestingly. You got the early start after the night game last night, and Charlie Manuel decided for the first time this year there would be no pregame BP on the field. Of course, guys were allowed to hit in the cage if they wanted to. Might have struck some fans as strange not to see the visiting team hit if they were here early. A strike to Raul Ibanez.
Well, as a hitter, that there are times that I wanted to come, early and get some BP in. There were other times where manager would say, hey, look, you don't have to hit today, and you take them up on it and not hit. It's just really a feel. Batting practice before the game is just kind of a confidence booster. Get loose, feel good. You're not actually working on things in the cage. You do that 5-6 hours before the game if you're going to work on something. And that BP before the game, that's just come on out, hang out, stretch, talk to the guys, hit a few balls in the stands. Go get them.
Ball and 2 strikes. The count to Raul Ibanez. And a swing and a miss. Leadoff double, left stranded. Not to worry if you're a Philly faithful. 10-2 Philadelphia. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud. 10 runs on 15 hits and an error for the Phillies. The Braves with a couple of runs on 5 hits as Danny Baez takes over on the mound for Philadelphia. An opportunity for a veteran right-hander who has been knocked around the past year plus to work on an afternoon in which his team has an 8-run lead. And Danny Baez, a quality reliever who's accomplished a lot at the major league level, has had some leaner times of late. He'll face J.P. Boscan to lead things off, then Dan Uggla and Jason Hayward in the last of the night.
Well, Baez still a good arm coming out of that Philadelphia bullpen. One of the right-handed bridges to Madsen and Contreras. Saw the other day where Brad Lidge probably out until around the All-Star break.
Last year with the Phillies, a 5.48 ERA in 51 appearances. His first year in Philadelphia in 2010 came after a couple of seasons in Baltimore. And he gets Boscan to strike out, 1 gone. Producer of this afternoon's game is Jeff Gowen. Director Jim Lynch. The associate director is Eric Billigmeyer. Our associate producer is Andy Kavanaugh. Technical producer is Dan Rotante. And the technical director is Dan Berger. Pre-game show was produced by Don Bowie. The great Greg Briggs in audio today. 0-1 the count to Dan Uggla. Danny Baez has been around. And a former closer, had some big years finishing ball games with the Indians in Double Rays. Howard handles the ground ball chance, and the Braves are down to their final out. So Jason Hayward presents the last line of resistance for the Braves. And as good as Atlanta was in come from behind victories last year, as many last AB wins that they earned in 2010, it doesn't seem a storyline on an afternoon in which they trail by 8.
Oh, but this game a lot closer than the score indicates, and really Jason Hayward had the at-bat, his previous at-bat, that for me really started to turn the momentum. The entire game, bases loaded, they're down by 1 run. Roy Oswalt had been in some trouble, and he shattered Hayward's bat, gets out of the inning with the lead. Then Philly comes up in the top half and puts on a 5 spot and opened the game up.
2 balls and a strike from Danny Baez. This is 3 of the last 4 games now in which the Phillies have scored 10 or more runs. Is there ever a sense when you're on the field that you say, hey, save some of those for tomorrow?
You know, if you're one of those Philly pitchers, you're saying that. Like I said, they're doing what they need to do against certain pitchers. And that's, you know, the Phillies, what they do, they beat the teams. Why they've been successful over the past few years, they beat the teams they're supposed to beat. You know, they beat up on the Nationals. They beat up on the Mets.
And Hayward keeps it going here in the 9th. Extra bases in the bottom half of the inning. Been a total of 10 extra base hits in the game when you factor in Hayward's double. Alex Gonzalez has a pair of them, 2 doubles for him coming against Roy Oswalt in the 3rd and 5th innings this afternoon. Series finale between these 2 teams is tomorrow afternoon, and the Phillies will have Cole Hamels, whose 2011 debut did not go as scripted. Atlanta counters with Derek Lowe, who's been terrific in his 2 starts so far this year. Gonzalez pops it up. Polanco's under it, and that does it this afternoon. The Phillies win a convincing decision, 10-2 for the visiting Phils, as they even up this 3-game series at 1 win apiece. We'll wrap things up from Atlanta right after these messages from your local Fox station.